We go back. Good morning, Unity. It's so good to be here. It's been a while. Yes, and I have been on this spiritual walkabout. That's what they've been calling it. I've been visiting different churches, speaking to different entities. And today I'm going to be discussing the fact that we have the opportunity to unite our divine minds, and so that we can make a major impact on the world. A couple of conferences, and everywhere I go, individuals are experiencing turmoil and conflict, and they just have this anxiety inside of them. And so much is occurring in our world, our society, but also on the planet. And I'm understanding and finally beginning to realize it's impacting us in more ways than we may realize. It's impacting our physical bodies. How many of you have been experiencing fatigue? Just feeling tired and not really understanding where it's coming from. A lot of it has to do with the consciousness that's occurring right now in our world. And today I want to offer a way for us to unite together and understand and know that we can make a major impact. Because if you're like me, sometimes I think I'm not doing enough. How many of you like that? I'm not doing enough, I should be doing more. But then I have to remember, I just need to send out that love energy into the world, and I can make an impact right from where I am. Is this mic okay? Yeah, okay, great. So we want to understand that we can develop and strengthen our own mental health and our own peace of mind. And when we do that, we allow others around us to do the same. We can have a positive impact on the world. So what is the divine mind? Now, for years I was a preschool teacher and a teacher. So I like demonstrations. So I have something to demonstrate right here. So picture that this is us, and that this is us before conception. And something happens at the moment of conception. That happens. A light goes off. And when this light goes off, it is actually the light and energy of God. And it stays on from the moment of conception until the moment that we leave here. It's an illumination that's always in us. But sometimes we forget that this light is ever shining. It's our foundation. It's our birthright. And guess what? It is in every single entity on the planet. If you put a plant under the microscope, guess what? You would see this light. If you went to the ocean and you took a drop of water and you looked at the water under a microscope, you would see this light. So I just did that because a lot of times we intellect. I get it. That's who we are all the time. But as we travel around and we listen and we hear and we take in information, we forget that that light there. And for us, the light sometimes disappears. So how to consciously understand and cultivate peace and harmony in our world? How do we do that? We first have to understand it's there. Just like I said, we have to understand that light is always there. But then we have to understand something else, and this is really powerful for me. We have to understand and accept we can't control everything. How many of you are like one of those controlling people? Now, come on, be honest now. Raise your hands. You want to control people, places, and things in the back. And you want to do it from just your body, your mind. You just want to control things. And when things are not in your control, what happens? Anxiety sets in, fatigue sets in, It weakens our mental health. And it also destroys our peace of mind. I mean, I remember when I was young, I would sit down and I'd write out something, a plan for life, like 20 years into the future, thinking that I could control all the circumstances that were going to occur. And when something didn't go my way, what was I doing? Crazy, all over the place. Couldn't understand why I can't control this. We cannot control external circumstances, but what can we control? Our response, our reactions to those external circumstances. That is under our control. And when we accept that we can't change how someone else is, when we truly accept that, and we begin to understand that we can change our reactions to it, and when we change our reactions to it, that situation changes. We can affect change with our divine minds, because when we stand inside of that energy that fills us up, something happens. The events become modified and they become altered. And we're not doing it. It's the power and presence of God. We have to remember that what we resist will persist. So if you run into someone that's filled with anger and you get angry, what happens? You create more anger. But if you don't resist that anger begins to dissipate. And that is what we are going to bring to this world. We're going to bring the energy that accepts what's there, but we're going to bring an energy of love that moves things. And we're not doing it. It's the power and presence that's within us that's doing it. So why do we even want to track our thoughts and emotions? When we track our thoughts and emotions, we are creating a deliberate reaction to the world. We don't really understand how much information runs through our brains that's not even ours. It comes to us out of the wavelengths. We're like these radios. We can say radio here. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. And we just pick up these waves. And we think that because it's running through our mind that it's ours. No, it doesn't have to be ours. We picked it up. We heard it. Somebody threw it out there in the universal consciousness, and we kind of picked it up. And we're running with it, but it's not even ours. So we want to begin to monitor, track our thoughts. Because when we track our thoughts, guess what? We can get a handle on our emotions. Our thoughts create our emotions. And then our emotions in turn creates our behaviors. I used to be crazy all the time because I was thinking something and that thought wasn't even mine. It belonged to somebody else. But I was being impacted because I wasn't monitoring my thoughts. When we monitor our thoughts, it keeps us from being in a reactive position. Just reacting all the time, reacting all the time. It keeps us out of those negative thought patterns. And that is what's swirling around right now as we move closer and closer to our elections. We are inside of this giant bowl with all these thought patterns running around. And they will impact you if you don't pay attention to your thoughts. Actually say, what is that? Where'd that thought come from? That's not mine. And change it. You have the power to change that thought. When you don't, you become feeling overwhelmed. You become stressed out. You forget to understand that your divine mind can help you create that state of equilibrium. That is what we all want. That's called peace of mind. So why do we want to connect to our divinity? When we do connect with our divinity, we impact the world. We send out consciously positive energy into the world. And that positive energy sometimes deflates those negative thought patterns that are out there swirling all around. It strengthens our own inner peace and our inner harmony. That is why we practice meditation. Because when we sit in meditation, we are actually connecting with that power and presence that's within us. And we're slowing everything down. Our society moves at breakneck speed all the time. Everything is like that. Instant, instant. I remember when we talked on the telephone and it was plugged into the wall. Okay, remember that? You had to sit down and talk on the telephone. Or if you had a party line, you had to wait for the other person to get off the phone. Now, really dating us, okay? Now we walk around with it in our pocket. And everything is happening all the time, all around us. We don't have a moment to even breathe. And that is why we have to connect to our divinity, to that light within us. It strengthens our connections to other like-minded individuals also. It fosters emotional healing and self-acceptance. When you are paying close attention to who you are in your divinity, you get to accept who you are. It's called self-acceptance. So often right now in our society, we are spending so much time, maybe not us individually, but our society is spending so much time comparing ourselves to someone else and to what they're doing. I have young great nieces and I say they live Facebook lives, okay? On Facebook their life looks one way. I know that's not their life, but they are living a life according to what other people think they should be doing. And what that does for them internally, it causes conflict. It causes inner turmoil because they're not accepting themselves for who they are. They're always in this state of comparison. And that comparison takes away our powerful mental health and it covers up our divinity, our natural power that's there all the time. When divine minds unite, we impact our world. I want to read something to you from Unity. This is from October 18th. If members of the human family created the state of the world as it is now, then we must also have the power to make new and better choices. Just think of that. If we created what's going on right now, we have the power to create something different. As each of us embodies more and more of our spiritual natures and connect with our divine minds, our thoughts and actions become synchronized more easily and more harmoniously with a divine life, love, and peace. The peace within our heart changes the world. I believe world peace is possible even in the presence of strife and conflict. Today, I imagine peace radiating from me and from other like-minded individuals, rippling out into the world. I imagine this healing, this loving energy blessing the whole world. I want to share this story with you. During World War II, a group of people stopped what they were doing every night at a certain time to pray for peace and safety for all. They did this every day, and it was as if the city stopped. Such was the power of that prayer. The result was overwhelming. That bombing stopped shortly afterwards. That's the power of collective prayer. Back to my demonstration. This is what it looks like when we all unite. Our lights get brighter and we have a bigger impact. This is how we impact our environment. This is how we create change. So what I want to invite you to do is join a group of individuals in our world that right now, today, are stopping for 1 minute every single day to pray. And our prayer time here in the United States is 1 p.m. every day. You stop. I'm going to pass out, if you would like, the prayer that we use during meditation. Set your clocks, and that every day at 1 p.m., you just stop, only for 60 seconds, and you pray. Just think that we have people all over the world. This started in the Congo. All over the world doing the exact same thing. We are going to unite our divine minds, and we are going to impact our world. And when we impact our world, we impact our individual selves also. I want to thank you this morning. I want to add a blessing to these words. And I want you to just remember that light that's shining inside all the time. It doesn't matter what's going on outside of you. Just remember that you have the power and the presence to change your thoughts, to create the behaviors that you want to, and move together in peace and harmony. I add a blessing to you, and I add a blessing to these words. Thank you this morning.